What's good, y'all? My name is Trevant, and I'm coming at you guys with a new video. This is my first ever video, but the most I put it on my spirit to start a YouTube channel, and it's many things that I will be going over on this channel, trying my best to be a profitable servant in these last days, using my talents given to me by the Messiah. And I just want to thank you all for tuning into my video, and I hope that you can be entertained, get some knowledge, get some understanding of the word as you watch my new video, and I hope you can enjoy it. The topic that we're going to be going over today is war. Um, we war against spirits, not man. Throughout all of history, there has been many different wars happening. Different nations rising up against different nations. Many different kingdoms rising up against different kingdoms, and all of this stuff has been happening because of the enemy. You know, um, you know, the Messiah said it that nation will rise against nation when he was talking to his disciples. He said nation will rise against nation, and that has been going on since since the beginning of time. We can go all the way back to Adam. Think of Cain and Abel. In Genesis chapter 4, verse 3 through 8, it says that in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering, he had not respect. Okay, now, when you read this, you can see that this the Lord having respect unto Abel's offering is what made Cain angry. Look, it says that Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain in verse 6, why are you wroth? Okay, for those that don't know the definition of wroth, it's to be angry. The synonyms is annoyed, vexed, irritated, grieved, aggrieved, displeased, resentful. Basically, Cain had bitterness in his heart. And the Lord said, and we can see that as we read verse 5, and his countenance fell. And if you read verse 6, the Lord said unto Cain, why are you wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? And the Lord was telling Cain, he said, if thou doest well, shall thou be not accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lied at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. So the Lord was telling Cain that sin was creeping up on him. And sin wanted Cain. It wanted to rule over him. And it did get the best of him. Because look, in verse 8, and Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against his brother Abel, and his brother against Abel his brother, and slew him. Okay, now, when you think of rising up, when you look at rose up, you can think of this. Rose up, rose up. Did not the Messiah say that nation will rise up against nation? War was in Cain's heart from the beginning. Okay, now, when we talk about the word rose, it can have many different meanings. Okay, now, when we talk about the word rose, rose can have many different meanings. We can think of the flower, the queen of flowers, highly esteemed in its native East for its fragrance and the beauty of its form and colors. A rose can be a flower, and it can mean a different way. It has many different meanings. And he arose, Matthew 2 verse 21, and he arose. What this is talking about is to rise, and took the young child and his mother, and came into the land of Israel. Look in Greek, raised up again, raising, rise again, risen, is many different meanings concerning the word rose. Awoke, cause, get, lift, raised. And when we go back to Genesis chapter 4, verse 3, Genesis chapter 4, verse 8, we can actually see that Cain rose up against his brother Abel and slew him. He made war with his brother. War was in his heart. As it says in 1 John chapter 3, verse 7 through 12. Little children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. And this is talking about the Messiah. Cain was not a righteous man. Cain was a murderer from the beginning. And we can keep reading. He that committed sin is of the devil, for the devil sinned not from the beginning. For this is the purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Whosoever is born of God doeth not commit sin, for his seed remaineth in him. He cannot sin because he is born of God. In this the children of God are manifest, and the children of the devil. Whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God, neither he that loveth not his brother. For this is the message that ye heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. Not as Cain, who was of that wicked one, and slew his brother. Wherefore slew he him, because his own works were evil and his brother's righteous. You see, when you read Genesis chapter 4, verse 3 through 8, God had respect onto Abel's offering because Abel gave the best of what he had. And Abel, verse 4, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. Cain, on the other hand, he gave the least of what he had. God, he wants the best of what you have. And that's what made the Lord not have respect unto Cain's offering. And we can go deeper when we talk about war. You know, Cain, war was in his heart. War was in his heart. That's what it was. War was in his heart, and he slew his brother. He murdered his brother. If we look at all of these different wars that happened, World War I, World War II, going back to the 1800s, the Messiah said it in Matthew 24, verse 6 through 8. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation. And we can go all the way back to the beginning of Adam. Like I said, Cain, war was in his heart from the beginning. War was in his heart. And he slew his brother because his works were righteous to the Lord. But Cain's his works was not righteous. His works was wicked, And if you actually keep reading on down, just reading the Old Testament, you can actually see that many different nations went to war. The Israelites went to war with many different nations, the Amalekites, the Philistines. And the Messiah was telling the disciples, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. This has been all going on since, this has been all going on since the Messiah, but we are in the times, where things are getting worse. If you actually look online, you can see people, people making videos about, going to different stores and they seeing things they go into stores and they seeing things that need, a mark, like the mark of the beast, as it says in the book of Revelations. You see, these wars that have been happening over the years all of these are the beginning of sorrows. And they're going to get worse from here. But we can go even deeper to the spiritual side of this. Okay. It says in Isaiah chapter 4, verse 20, when we talk about Satan, we all know that Satan, he wanted to be like God. He wanted to be in the seat of God. And this led to a war that happened in heaven. You see, Satan is the king of Babylon. Okay, let's read. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 4. Thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. The Lord had broken the staff of the wicked, and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continuous stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger. The word says in Revelations that if you read Revelations chapter 12, verse 12, you see it says, okay, if you read Revelations, sorry about that, but if you read Revelations chapter 9 to 12, and the great dragon, verse 9, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And they loved not their lives unto death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time. Okay, now, the battle, when we talk about the battle, the victory is already the saints, the righteous, the people, the sheep that are following the Messiah. All of these wars that have happened over the years is all because of the enemy. Look, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath. If you read the dictionary, the word wrath means extreme anger. Similar, the synonyms: anger, rage, fury, annoyance, indignation. He's angry with God, to be honest, and he's gonna take his anger out on his creation by doing what? Causing conflict, causing war, causing death, causing pestilence, causing famine, and causing many different things, in the earth, many different conflicts, and just many different wicked things in the earth. One thing I learned is that this world could be it could be a utopia, but this world is ran by the wicked one, Satan. You see, in verse 6, it says in Isaiah 14, verse 6, he who smote the people in wrath with a continuous stroke, he that ruled the nations, key word, nations, in anger. Did not the Messiah say that there will be wars and rumors of wars, and nation shall rise against nation? See, when we talk about this, the enemy is the reason why we going through everything we go through in this world. War is never going to end, and it's going to continue to happen. Look, it's persecuted and none hinder it. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth in singing. If you actually read Revelations, it talks about the new heaven and the new earth. The earth is going to be at rest. When the Messiah reigned for 1,000 years, it's going to be at rest. There ain't going to be no war. We're not going to have to worry about Satan trying to cause conflict, because he's going to be in a prison for 1,000 years. You see? Yeah, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon saying, since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us. This is talking about the saints. Hell from beneath is moved for thee, to meet thee at thy coming. It stirred up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It had raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. Satan has caused many conflict in this world, going all the way back to the beginning of Cain and Abel. Cain slew his brother because his offering was not good to the Most High. He was envious of Abel, and anger took rule over him, as it says in Genesis. As it says in Genesis chapter 4, verse 7. If thou doest well, shall not thou be accepted? And this was the Lord asking Cain. And if thou doest not well, sin lied at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. Sin took hold of Abel. Sin took hold of Cain, and Cain killed his brother. And that was the first war that took place, to be honest. War can have many different meanings. When you think about a lot of things that go on in the world, think of these gangs, the Crips and the Bloods, the GDs and the BDs, just many different just you could just look at the things around you, in these neighborhoods and stuff like that. A lot of this stuff is just wars that are happening in different neighborhoods and stuff like that is caused by the enemy. It's in it. And one thing I would want to say is that it's always a beginning, a root of the problem. Going back to, it's always a root of the problem that will lead to an ongoing war that would happen. You see, when we talk about these wars that happen, when we talk about these wars that happen, in these countries, a lot of these wars are just happening because of a lot of these people that are ruling over us. You got devils ruling over you that are doing the works of the devil. This world could be at peace, but is ruled by Satan. As it says in Isaiah 14, he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted and none hinder it. This is a prophecy right here. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth in singing. This is a prophecy. This world it ain't gonna never change, because we got the devil ruling over us. This world is gonna continue to be war. You're gonna always have conflicts in this war. You're gonna always have trials and tribulations because the lawless one is ruling over us. Let's read verse 9. Hell from beneath is moved for thee, to meet thee at thy coming. It stirred up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It had raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. And they shall speak and say unto thee, and these are people in hell, just to let you know. Hell from beneath is moved for thee. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows, the worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? The Messiah said it, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. A lot of this stuff that is happening is because of the devil. See, the Messiah was just prophesying what was going to be happening. A lot of these wars that took place, that we read about in history class and stuff like that, this is just all the devil's working, and we just been getting indoctrinated time and time again. Let's keep going, though. Let's keep going. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. And when we see this, this is Satan, this is Satan. Well, this is not Satan right here. This is actually God speaking about what Satan was saying he was going to do. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. This is really what led to the war that's spoken of in Revelations. The war between Michael and his angels and the dragon and his angels. Revelation chapter 12, verse 7 through 17. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought and prevailed not. Neither was their place found anymore in heaven. It ain't no room for sinners in heaven. Heaven is a place of peace, a place of love. It's not a place of war. One thing I learned is that if Satan was to actually rule in heaven, if God was to take his hand back and just let Satan do what he want to do, there will be constant war in heaven. People want to, you will probably, and this is just me speaking from my mind, but you can also think, you know, there will be many different conflicts. If the devil rose up, and wanted to be the most high, he wanted to take the place of God, you know, don't you think other angels will want to be in his place also? It will be constant conflict and constant war in the kingdom. So the Most High had to cast Satan out. It's order in the kingdom. It's order in the kingdom, and God is a God of order. He's a God that has a law, a God that has commandments, that has things set up in order to keep people on the right path, the path of righteousness and holiness, to live like God, as it says in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. You see, God gave us a dominion over everything that was on the earth that he made. But he also wanted us to live like him, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, to live holy and to live righteous like God. When you go back and read Revelations chapter 12, you see Satan he wanted to be God. He wanted to be in the position of God, being the Most High, being the creator of heaven and earth. He said it in Isaiah 14 that I will be like God. As it says in verse 13, Isaiah 14, verse 13, he said in his heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, the angels. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the cloud. I will be like the Most High. See, God made us to be like him, but he didn't make us to be him, be in his seat. That's what Satan wanted. He wanted to be God. And this is what led to the war in heaven. You see, this was the reason a war happened in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought also. You see, God cast out Satan, the old serpent called the devil, and Satan, which deceived the whole world. He was cast out by God because of his iniquity, because iniquity was found in him. I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death. And therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time. And when the dragon saw that he was cast onto the earth, he persecuted the woman, which brought forth the man-child. The man-child is supposed to represent Christ, supposed to represent the Messiah. And the woman is supposed to represent Mary. If you actually read Matthews 2, Herod. If you actually read Matthews 2, you can see that the Messiah was born in Bethlehem, Bethlehem of Judea or Judah in the days of Herod the king. And, you can see there were wise men from the east, the three wise men that wanted to see him, and bring those gifts to him. Now look, in verse 3, when Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled and all Jerusalem with him. And when he gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, and thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are not the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. Then Herod, when he privately called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared, and he sent them to Bethlehem, and said, go and search diligently for the young child, and when ye have found him, bring me word again that I might come and worship him also. When you read this, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against rulers, of darkness, against wickedness in high places. This man Herod had a spirit on him. He was troubled. What's the definition of troubled? Troubled, beset by problems or conflict, difficult, problematic, unsettled, hard, tough, stressful, anxious, showing distress or anxiety, fear. Does not it say in the word that God did not give us a spirit of fear? Herod had a spirit of fear upon him. And that spirit led him, as it says in Matthew 2, verse 16, that Herod was mocked of the wise man, you know, and was exceeding wroth. Like the devil, wroth. Like Cain, wroth, angry, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem and all the coast thereof from 2 years old under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. You see, Herod, he was fearful that a king will rise up, as it says in verse 6, and thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are not the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. He was afraid that there was going to be somebody that was going to be greater than him, and take over the kingdom from him. And he went to slay many different children of Israel. You see, in verse 12, God warned the wise men that they should not return to Herod, because God knew what Satan was going to use Herod for. He was going to use Herod to go and slay the Messiah, so he won't do the work that God sent him to do. You see, they departed, and this is talking about the wise men, and they departed in their own country another way. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. Destroy. The word says that Satan only comes to kill, steal, and destroy. When we talk about these wars and stuff, a lot of this is just the destruction and the wrath of the enemy. There is no peace in this world because of the enemy, because he rules over us, as it says in Isaiah 14, verse 6. Isaiah 14, verse 6. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted and none hinder it. All of this stuff that has been happening is just the enemy, setting things up, these wars, a lot of this stuff. In the great Revelation chapter 12, verse 9, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels was cast out with him. The Messiah said this in Luke. He said, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven, cast out of heaven. He was cast out of heaven because he wanted to be like God. But he's going to be brought down to the lowest depths of the pit, until he's going to be brought down to the lowest depths of the pit, as it says in Revelations. All of this stuff, that has been going on, is because of the enemy. When a person is angry with you, it's all because of the enemy. Going back to Genesis. We can use that as an example, going back to Genesis. But unto Cain, and the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? We can go back to we can read Genesis chapter 4, verse 5 through 6. But unto Cain, to his offering he had no respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, why are you wroth? Why is thy countenance fallen? If you're angry with a brother, you have to stay focused on the kingdom. You have to keep walking in love. Keep walking in peace. The word says in 1 John chapter 3, verse 15, that whosoever hated his brother is a murderer. And ye know that no murderer had eternal life abiding in him. Cain was a murderer. He didn't have life abiding in him. He was a man that was wicked. As it says in 1 John chapter 3, verse 7 through 12. Verse 12. Now this Cain, who was of that wicked one. That wicked one is Satan, and slew his brother. Wherefore slew he him, because his own works were evil and his brother's righteous. I will say this. If someone is hurting you, you do need to get away from that person, because the devil be using people out here. I will say he does use people, and we got to be very wise out here. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against rulers of darkness, against wickedness in high places. And you got to be very wise out here, because some of these people, as it says in the word, Satan only come to kill, steal, and destroy. Satan want to take your peace. He want to destroy you if that means murdering you. He's gonna use people, to cause you to stay in a place where you're distracted. You got to be very wise out here. We don't wrestle against man. We don't fight against man. And that's when we can go back to these videos. You see all of this stuff happening, all of these wars. It's sad that, you had a lot of folks that lost their lives in these wars. Many different people lost their lives. You're forced to get drafted. You're forced to fight a battle that you didn't want to fight. Satan was the cause of all of this. These wars were set up in place by the devil. How many people lost their lives in these wars, And today, how many people are losing their lives still? It's all because of the enemy living in his domain, going all the way back to Adam and Eve. When Adam told Eve that you will be like God once you eat of this tree, the word says this. God told Adam, that he should not eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That tree, when Adam ate of it, it opened his eyes and Eve's. It opened both their eyes. That right there is what led us to a lot of where we are today. This world is in darkness, and it's going to continue to be in darkness until the Messiah comes. These wars, these pestilences, these famines, the industry, it's all going to continue to happen because the enemy is in power. But his time is coming. As it says in verse 15 through 20. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee, and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners? All the kings of the nations. The Messiah said, there will be wars and rumors of wars. Nation shall rise against nation. Even all of them lie in glory, everyone in his house. But thou art cast down out of thy grave like an abominable branch, as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial. If you actually read Revelations, Satan was just cast in the lake of fire, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Satan was wicked from the beginning, as it says in the book of Ezekiel. This is Satan's doom right here. Revelation chapter 20, verse 10. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. He's going to make one last war, as it says in verse 7. And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of sea. And they went up on the bread of the earth, and compassed the camps of the saints, the righteous ones, about the beloved city. And fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. This is going to be Satan's doom right here. He's angry. He's angry every day. Every day he's working. He's trying to destroy more people, as it says in John 10:10. Satan only come to kill, steal, and destroy. And it's sad that many people are deceived out here. Many people don't know what's going on in these last days. Many people think that this world is going to continue going on the way it is. Man, this world is going to go down in flames. God already looks at America. God already knows that. God already looks at this country and despises it. This country is filled with wickedness, I will say. And it's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. But yeah, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. We wrestle against spirits. Spirits be upon people, I will say. Spirits be upon people that actually torment your soul. If you live with a family member that's if you live with a family member that's evil, a family member that does a family member that do you wrong. I know it's a lot of many different people out here that can really do you wrong. You got people in school getting bullied every day. You'll question for real, like, why is this person doing this to me? What did I ever do to this person? The truth of the matter is they have spirits upon them, spirits that cause them to do what they do. When you look at all this stuff, it's sad what was going on for these men. Forced to be drafted into a war that you had no say in. But you had the rich, the powerful, forcing these dudes to fight a war, and their father, the devil, was leading them to tell them to do these things. This earth can be a utopia, but to be honest, it's ruled by evildoers. It's ruled by evildoers, as it says in Isaiah 14. And it's just going to continue to just be evil. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. I will say, people can be, I will say people can be dirty out here. People can be evil, but you got to continue to walk in love. You got to continue to walk in the fruits of the Spirit, because the Holy Spirit is going to redeem us, in the day of redemption, you know. And we want to stay safe in this thing. Want to stay focused in this truth. So keep fighting the good fight of faith. Keep striving to enter into the kingdom. Keep loving your neighbor, and keep doing what you got to do, keeping the commandments of God, trying your best to make it into the kingdom. We as the saints, we got to do what we got to do. Stay prayed up, stay in the word, keep fighting. It's a spiritual war going on. We war not against man, we warring against spirits out here. You seeing these dudes preparing for battle out. You seeing these dudes preparing for battle. They was forced to fight a war against man. People was dying for nothing. People was dying for nothing in this war. And it's sad that this stuff happens. It's sad that you see this stuff happening. It's all set up by the devil. All of this stuff is set up in place by the devil. And we as the righteous ones got to keep on that spiritual armor, keep fighting the good fight of faith, walking in our callings and walking in our purpose as chosen ones, doing what we got to do. So stay faithful and stay righteous. That's our whole duty, as it says in Ecclesiastes chapter 12. Here's the whole duty of man. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13 through 14. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Just stay righteous in this thing, and you're going to be safe. See, Satan don't want us to keep these commandments. He want us to be walking in iniquity like him. He want us to be living wicked. He want us to be warring with man, but we got to stay focused. Stay focused in this thing, because what's coming for the wicked it ain't good. Stay walking in love and stay prayed up, because you're going to need it in these last days. That's all I wanted to really talk about. We don't war against people. We war against spirits. I pray that this edifies someone. I pray that whoever watched this video, you get some knowledge from, me going through these scriptures and just, talking about it, and I pray that you will continue to just stay focused, stay focused on God and keep trying to love your neighbor, and keep trying to walk in righteousness. Just stay in love, stay in the fruits of the Spirit.